I don't think that call is coming though. But
I think I hear your phone ringing.
Hang on. Oh, look at that. Creative team of Frozen 3. That's how I have them saved in my phone. Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets.
Welcome to Couch Surfing, the show where boisterous guests look back at their big roles, their little roles, and everything in between. I'm here social distancing with Josh Gad. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great. You ready to surf?
I'm nervous about it, but I think we should do it. I feel, by the way, like I'm on like a morning DJ right now with this setup.
Let's do this. You ready? Let's do it.
Oh, boy.
Come on, take a deep breath. Dive right in.
All right, let's couch surf.
Hey, Sergeant Vargas' mom sent him a box of
I knew this was coming. Look at that haircut, by the way. I'll tell you something really funny about this. So this was supposed to be like an open door ER pilot. This was my first Screen Actors Guild job. And what was so funny about this is I had a scene. I'm not sure if it was this scene or not, but I had a scene where I had to do the oxygen. And the director, or they had like a medical expert on staff and on set. And he was like, you are killing that patient right now. What you're doing is actually like causing that patient going into cardiac arrest. So let's just say that it was one of the final doctor roles I probably will ever play in my career.
Up next.
Hello, Mr. Bankerman. My name is Little Cindy Sue.
Josh, I don't think this is going to
I'm this much years old.
Oh my God, this was my first episode of Daily Show. What was amazing about Daily Show was I had auditioned for Allison Jones and for John, and I got it. And at the time, my wife didn't want to move to New York, and so I declined it.
Wait. John Stewart offers you a job,
yes,
and you say no because your wife doesn't want you to move?
I was heartbroken. And I said, I'm so sorry, but this is the situation. John, being John, was amazing, and he looked at me and he said, I totally get it. What if we did something like we do with Larry Wilmore, where you're a guest correspondent, you can come in and do a couple of pieces here and there and do it as you will. And I was like, I was crying. I was so happy. And I said, oh my God, that would be amazing. So I ended up doing that for about 5-6 months. And then, I got the call to do Book of Mormon on Broadway. And John was just like, really? So you ended up moving to New York for less money than you would have made it. But it all worked out for the best.
Up next.
F you to Heavenly Father. Holy moly, I said it like 13 times.
So good.
Don't know what to say about Book of Mormon that I haven't already said, which is that it was truly a life-changing event.
It earned you a Tony nomination, obviously, tons of critical acclaim, made you a darling of Broadway. There's been talk of a film adaptation for years. Can you tell us anything about that? I
literally don't know anything. I mean, I think Trey and Matt sort of marched to the beat of their own drum, as we all know.
Do you think anything would have to change in terms of tone or what was tackled for it to work?
I do. I mean, I think you sort of have to adjust with the times. I don't know that show could open today and have the same sort of open-armed response that it did then. And that's not to say that it's any less significant or wonderful or incredible a musical. I just think that it's the nature of art to adapt. So I would certainly hope that with a future adaptation there would be that growth, because I think it's a cool opportunity for growth.
Up next.
Oh, I don't know why, but I always loved the idea.
I'll never forget 6-7 months prior to the movie coming out, I was with Bobby Lopez and I said, how's the movie coming? And he goes, well, we just screened it.
Bobby Lopez, by the way, Double EGOT. Frozen.
Wrote Book of Mormon, Frozen.
Avenue Q. Yeah, list goes on and on.
So Bobby looks at me and he goes, we just screened the movie and it's a mess. And I go, well, what do you think can you fix it? He goes, I hope so. We're playing around with this idea now that like we need this moment where we really see the girls' affection for each other early on. So we're playing with this like song that's called "Do You Want to Build a Snowman?" And so like that was so. Cut to 6 months later, I'm with my wife and we're screening it with Kristen Bell, Adina Menzel, and the creatives. And I turn to my wife, who's the most critical person I know, Lola, and she looks at me and she goes, "This is really special. This is really, really special." And I left it there being like, okay, we hit the mark. Like, I think we hit the mark.
Wait, but Josh, you didn't just hit the mark. You are now the world's most popular snowman.
Well, that was it. I didn't
move over, Frosty. You've been dethroned.
No, Frosty will forever have the Mount Rushmore placement, and I'll be below him.
Welcome back to Couch Surfing. I'm still here with Josh Gad. Josh, shall we continue?
If we must, and only if we must.
We must, and we shall.
This Exhibit I is identical to the gag that he used.
God, yes. I love this film. A movie that couldn't be more poignant and significant to the period we find ourselves in right now.
You were so right about that.
It's one of these films that is, from the standpoint of reception, really frustrating and heartbreaking that it didn't find the audience that I really wanted it to, because you do a movie like this, you see it, you could not be more proud of it. And then, it just doesn't get the opportunity to shine, which frankly really angered me from the perspective of the studio behind it, just in my opinion, just not doing enough to put it out there. And I say that bluntly because I've never really spoken about it, but it really angered me. What
Did you make that known to the studio at the time, or is that something that you had to process later?
I made that known. All
right. Up next.
I'm going to get in a lot of trouble with the studio behind it. No, you won't.
I got your back. Don't worry. I got you. Up next.
God, I love this movie. The really cool part of what I get to do is I get to live out moments like these where you just, as a child, you can't even imagine one day the movie you're watching will be adapted for a live action feature, and you'll get to play a role as iconic as LeFou opposite a role as iconic as Gaston, played by someone as brilliant as Luke Evans.
It had been teased that there was an LGBTQ character, and it turned out only to be LeFou dancing with another guy. I mean, were you surprised at how big a story that became?
I was surprised by how big of a story it became. It was a moment that I thought was really special in that we didn't shine a light on it, in that it just was.
Right.
And then it just became a thing. And I remember people protesting it and just being like, what is wrong with this world that like a 3-second clip of two men dancing with each other would get the movie banned in certain states. But what was pretty incredible about it, and like, let me be the first to say that this is not a watershed moment. This is not a breakthrough moment. But what was pretty amazing to watch and pretty incredible to see was the people in theaters at the time when this came out and was being received with that kind of pushback, applauding the moment, standing up and cheering it on, even though it is insignificant.
You ready to keep surfing?
Not really, but I don't feel like I have a choice. That's why I don't usually actually go surfing. Built in 1857.
You co-created this with Lauren Bouchard and Nora Smith, and you assembled the dream team of stars: Kristen Bell, Titus Burgess, Daveed Diggs, Stanley Tucci. The list goes on and on. How did you go about getting all of these folks to say yes, and why were you intent on bringing this to the screen?
Lauren, when he did Bob's Burgers, he assembled the cast with the spirit of, I want to work with people I know in my heart I want to be with for a long time to come. And so he tasked me with the same goal, which is you know, before we had even created any characters, he's like, you want to do a musical set in Central Park, cast the people that you want to work with. And so I set out to assemble the Avengers of musical theater, and I'm very proud to say that I hit the jackpot.
You sure
And why?
did.
Why did I want to do Central Park? I wanted to do Central Park because I have so many fond memories of being a kid without much money in New York City with a lot of big dreams.
Yeah.
And I remember walking through that park, and I remember feeling a sense that I was in the midst of this steel jungle. I was on this green oasis that represented an even playing field.
Well, it has brought me so much joy, and you have brought me so much joy, Josh. Central Park airs Fridays on Apple TV+. See you next time on Couch Surfing. Bye.